There we go.
Not a serious call. You realize the Christmas tree's still up in Legion Square?
I did not. Are you sure?
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen it there.
I mean, unless someone put it back, because I was just there right now speaking with someone.
I would speak with Trig.
Okay, I was going to call Kat Archer and just ask if she wanted to take care of it, but that may start a bigger fire.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, last time... Yeah, that is true. Trig might be a better option.
We're working on some amendments to legislation as well.
Okay.
Based on a couple court hearings that happened the other day.
Hold on one second. I was gonna do something and then I completely... whatever. You're talking about the ADMC one?
That's happening, but I'm not touching it for obvious reasons. But it's statute of limitations stuff, because the LSPD appealed the case where Grayson did that weird hot gun ruling. But they appealed it too late. So we're gonna put something in like proper about judicial reviews on verdicts and stuff like that.
I would talk to Turner. He
And
has what do you call it? He had something written up that might be useful.
Okay. And then we're gonna adjust the delayed discovery rule to account for it. Like, people have warrants on an incident, but then someone else wants to FOIA it, but they can't because there's a warrant.
I'm gonna ask that whatever comes through, these are things that I think we should hopefully get drafts of instead of them just getting thrown up, because these are very big matters, and we need to make sure that, you know, myself and Mumbles have enough time to weave through it.
Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah. Just so we don't end up with the similar situation with the, you know, we had like the three other, I mean, like, they should be posted in terms of priority, I think, so there's enough runway to review them.
Yeah.
So,
right.
what is the thought behind the hot gun stuff?
The idea is about, I think it's about like an affirmative defense in terms of hot gun.
Okay.
Because that's the way they've been treated for years, but
why
it's not written anywhere.
Why not have legislation that defines? So I would argue, this is my opinion, is that doing it for a hot gun is the wrong decision. And the reason it's the wrong decision is because you're kind of creating law that circles around something specific, as opposed to expanding on due process and the underlining principle of an affirmative defense, right?
Yeah,
and
I think Grayson's writing up. I don't know how specific he's being about it, so we'll see what he writes up.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying, right? Is like, if each and every incident. So what's transparently, I think legislation has not expanded enough in the area of due process. And so take for example, if you found me with a murder weapon, right? With our current system, I would be found guilty. While there may be variability with the judge or justice, it is their prerogative as to whether or not they are going to even consider the notion of a need for an affirmative defense, or if one would even be applicable, right?
Sure.
And I have been in court cases where I've seen it go either way. right? And so having the notion of an affirmative defense, which is kind of like an underlining of like, this is when this is a affirmative defense. Here's when it comes into play. I think it would be good for everybody, both law enforcement and for people, right? Because let's say I had the murder weapon on me. Yeah, that's probable cause that I murdered this person because 100%. I have what do you call it? Constructive possession.
Constructive possession.
Yes. Yep. However, if I'm in there like, no, I literally just purchased this. Here is the transaction of me pulling out money for it. Here are my receipts that show during the like alleged murder, right?
Yeah,
here
like
I was.
alibi.
Yeah, exactly. Here's my alibi. That's not in the current. I'm not afforded that ability. Right.
Yeah.
Unless the judge is like, you know what, I'm going to open up for this, and that's not good.
Sure.
Right.
And yeah, like an affirmative defense also happens in self-defense cases where it's like, yes, I shot that person, but here's why.
Precisely. So I genuinely believe that that's the right approach, is that due process is more expanded on rather than, like over time, right? Because this is probably not the only thing, but yeah, that whole thing is expanded out.
Yeah.
There's something else that's missing now that you mention, and I'm trying to remember now. I think it might actually be search and seizure. Give me a sec. I was looking at this the other day. Fuck, someone brought up the concept of raid receipts.
Right, yeah. Those aren't technically required, but
the thing is,
yeah, they probably should be.
Even though the problem is there's a lot of things that are inherently illegal, but they require, there's a lot of basic things that are inherently illegal to do. Like, for example, if you do not provide a raid receipt, I would argue that it goes against due process because you're not providing, the defense, and it hits everything, right?
Yeah.
Like but I don't think that's something that should be derived in every court case. I think that's what I'm trying to say. There are a lot of things that this city is filled with people that don't know what the fuck what is up and what's down, and we need to hand feed certain basics back into legislation, right? Otherwise, every court case is going to be an opinion and is going to require all parties to rederive shit, and that's not good.
Yeah. That just reminded me of something. A marshal the other day was asking me who to serve an investigative warrant to if it's like not in regards to private property, and I said it would probably just go to you or Mumbles, depending on where it is.
That's exactly, yes. I was approached by a Marshal Flores about that, and that opened up, that's a whole nother topic, which is, number one, federally, nobody, I don't care what Princess did, whatever, like, you heard my opinion in the meeting. I'm not buying that opinion. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Otherwise, I could literally sell the entire county that doesn't have a lock on it and say Nino Chavez owns it for $1, right? Like,
you really could.
Well, I could, but it wouldn't be upheld, right?
Right.
And it's so what I told him is that anything that is in Los Santos County's name, like, is not registered, is of Los Santos County. So if you wanted to do surveillance warrants, if you wanted to do a search warrant, right? If you cannot find the issuer, it needs to go to the county, and then the county forwards it over, right?
Yeah. And then there's also discussion of like expectation of privacy in certain parts, and like, should you need the warrant for certain places, and should you not? It's a whole can of worms in that.
It's actually, I think it's very simple, and it should just be codified in legislation. Is the way that it always used to work. You start there and then you expand out. and the way that it always used to work in every generation that I've been aware of, is that law enforcement, absent a search warrant or a surveillance warrant, they can only place things on public access areas.
Right.
Right. But even
Yeah,
public
like
access is undefined.
Square, yeah. Because like if someone wanted to survey like the food court, but not a specific booth, like stuff like that, is like, is that fine? Because if I say if they wanted to look at a specific booth, then they would need a warrant. But then they would be placing the camera somewhere. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. What do you mean? So I genuinely believe that. So I there is a lot of
it's all just into where is public and where is private and where does that line get drawn.
Yeah. So I think we should. I mean, we should put something in there. I think the entire search and seizure document should be re-updated and better categorized with titles and shit, you know, header 1, header 2 into sections.
Yeah.
And one of those sections should describe a surveillance warrant. And that includes for like wiretapping, that includes for cameras, and then in there defining out what is public access. And public access is, you know, state and county run roads, right? And sidewalks, and where it begins and where it ends. And I think it could be done in just a handful of sentences. I mean, we could just fucking workshop something. Because I'll tell you right now, and just openly, there are law enforcement officers who are using phone tapping devices, right? I know damn well they are. And they're doing it illegally. And I already have names. And I could sit here and like be like, oh yeah, I could go to court and shit like that. But you know as much as I do, there's no time for that shit. So at a certain level, someone's just got to come in and be like, that's illegal, you dumb fuck, right? Maybe not to them directly, but like in legislation, it makes it easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like, I had a probate, like a new lawyer. She's only been working for like 4 days. And like, what's the legality around like recording someone with like a hidden device? And I'm like, what?
Well, that's against the city rules, but
is it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Listen, sorry, I was just putting like nose to like hitting it on the nose directly. So the only way, I think it's pretty.
So
I think everyone forgot. No, we're not. So let me explain. I was a little tongue in cheek there, but and maybe it's better that way. So since the dawn of time, the only way that you can record something is via an actual recording device. And what that means is you need you need your cell phone out.
There needs to be a way for someone to be able to see it, right? I get what you mean.
Yeah, or you know, one of the best ways is a camcorder, right? So a listening device does not magically have a recording thing on it, right? Because otherwise, yeah. So without going into details, yes, if someone's phone tapping something, there is no recording that can happen.
Right. Yeah. That 100%. I get you.
Yeah. So I think the listening device, you know, just openly is meant for, hey, we learned some shit and I might be able to testify to it.
We can build,
but did you really not? And then you use that as like a tip off. Right? Now I know this information. Now let me see what I can do with it. Rather than like someone
just starting point, not your evidence.
Exactly that. I think where the confusion came in is because during the Max era, he legalized people being able to tap into someone's phone, right? If they're in DOC. But that didn't mean that they could just magically record it, because that doesn't exist.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, if someone were to come up with a microphone that was clearly recording, and then that could probably be fine as long as people would have been aware of it.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Right. But even then, that doesn't work that way. Like, there is no way to record a phone tapping device.
No, right, yeah, I more meant just like recording the conversation from like a distance, that type.
Exactly, right. Like, you know,
Okay, yeah, we're on the same page.
yeah. Yeah. This phone call is being recorded, by the way.
Oh well.
But going back to what I was saying about the, law enforcement doing it, it's like a privacy violation. I personally think that's more of a conduct issue. And it's misusing police authority. It's a very dangerous line, but like I said, I don't think a lot of people realize, but I found out because I have to buy microphones every so often. And lo and behold, there's on-duty law enforcement sitting on the fucking thing. And it doesn't take you know what I'm saying? I can sit here and there's no way I can build a case on it because how do you catch someone? But if you know it's happening, this might as well resolve it through legislation.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
All right, I'll probably... I'll note all this stuff down and either looking at myself or pick people to...
Yep. I'll give you one other thing. I don't know if you're taking notes, but the delayed discovery also is scuffed.
Yes, that's something we're working on. Because the issue we had the other day, someone got arrested and FOIA'd it the day they got arrested, but were told no because there was warrants. And then the warrants didn't expire until 2 days before statute. And it's kind of bullshit that people only have 2 days at that point because other people did turn themselves in.
Agreed. There's another issue too, is that previously the delayed discovery was being used. Okay. Delayed discovery rule historically came into play as a consequence because of serial killer shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so if someone was a serial killer for 29 days and then took a break and then came back and started doing serial killer shit again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's haha, well, I went and murdered all these people, Omega lol, right? It made it fucking weird as shit, right? That you couldn't do anything.
I agree, yeah.
That is why that exists, right?
Yeah, there's language regarding that I'm going to clean up.
Yes.
Because we've got a line that says, for crimes of a continuing nature, the statute shall commence from the last act of the crime. And I get the idea is, you can charge for the things that happened before, but you've got 30 days since the last one, but the way it reads is weird, so I'm going to fix that.
Yep. The problem is that delayed discovery rule, and I forgot what cases this occurred in. But it's being used for weird shit. I mean, not in a weird, you know what I mean. I don't remember the incident, but it would be something like, we just found this in someone's apartment, therefore it applies to delayed discovery. I think it was Pred's case where it was
delayed discovery is if it wasn't initially detectable.
Yes.
It's well, that was detectable, but you just didn't look.
Exactly. So the language needs to change because people were using oh, it wasn't detectable because we didn't find it. No, bitch, you didn't fucking.
Yeah, it was
weren't able
to.
It was exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll clean that up.
Yeah. I think the premise of this entire phone call is, as with a lot of things, is that as shitty as it is, there's a lot of things that need to kind of be spelled out because to prevent re-derivation and an intentional misinterpretation, right?
Yeah, fair.
But okay, all right.
All right. There's a bench trial about to start that I'm gonna watch. So
okay, all right, easy. All right, Robin, you take care.
All right.
Bye.
Nope.